Oh, hi there, sir.
Hey, welcome to my book signing.
I think
My name's Niccolo.
I think the audience section is over there, Mr. Niccolo.
I don't think you understand. This is my joint, not on my Christian campus. Oh, joint book sign. I was the only one invited here.
I was invited here to talk about my book.
Yeah, my book
My
is right
book.
here, The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. What are you here for?
Thank you all for coming. Today we have two long-deceased authors here to present their greatest works. Please welcome Thomas Hobbes and Nikki Michaleb.
That's Machiavelli, Niccolo Machiavelli.
And that's Thomas Hobbes. Thank you very much.
Well, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about your book?
Well, I am Thomas Hobbes, author of Leviathan, and in this book I explain to you both the sovereign and the state of nature and how to avoid the worst parts of it.
I'm sure it has potential to be a second bestseller, but here we have The Prince by myself, Niccolo Machiavelli, and this is a very detailed handbook on how to run your princedom and how to rule effectively. You couldn't find a better instruction manual at IKEA.
Good instructions to run it into the ground, I think.
All right, any questions from the audience?
I just wanted to know what qualifications you have to be talking about power.
Yeah, what experience do you guys actually have?
I'm sorry, who are you?
I'm Queen Elizabeth I, ruler of England. No? Okay. Well, I'm the last of the Tudor dynasty. I took power after Mary I died. Reverted England back to Protestantism, brought down the Spanish Armada, ended the war with France. So I'm pretty sure I have a good grasp on how to successfully utilize power.
And I'm Mary, Queen of Scots. Maybe you've heard of me? I was crowned when I was 6 days old, and I was a queen consort to the French. I also had a claim to the English throne. So you could say I know a lot about power.
Well, I think both of you would have done a better job if you had just listened to the advice here in my book, The Prince, selling for $9.99.
Well, you know, my book Leviathan selling for $8.99 would have actually helped you a lot more, to the point where you could have even taken over all of Europe, but even his dainty little theses would have probably helped you be a better ruler than the rulers you were.
If you want to save a buck and buy that, by all means do. But in my book, I'll talk about how the kind of religion and philosophies you two used to rule were just not as effective. You can't use religion to rule, and even if you do, you can't actually believe it yourself. Maybe you can let the peasants believe it so they will stay in line. But in order to rule effectively, you can't have anything that's morally holding you back. You need to do what is right to retain your power. And the most effective rulers don't have morals. Just look at the Clintons. Borgias, look at the Borgias.
Actually, England has been quite successful in the religion department. Henry VIII, Mary I, not our finest moments. But when I took power and reverted England back to Protestantism, the people got what they wanted. I passed the Act of Supremacy that put me back into the head of the church, which kept anything from getting out of hand. I passed the Act of Uniformity, which created a common prayer book. When you actually listen to the people you're governing, it does a lot of good, just saying.
Well, now that might sound good and all, but you have to make sure that you separate religious and secular law. It's very important, if you want to be a good and powerful sovereign, that you don't confuse your people, even if it makes them happy. What you have to do is make sure that they're not trying to please God with one set of laws and you with another. It all has to be the same set of rules under one sovereign.
Well, it all sounds easy when you say it like that, but when you have real power, it's not as simple. I had to hold together our country when it was divided in a war of religion. And even though I believed in Catholicism, I had to sacrifice that in order to keep my people happy.
Who let these women in power anyway? Women just don't have the fortitude and courage to rule as I designed. Women are just like fortune. They're just wild and unpredictable. They don't have the discipline to carry out what I've written about in my great work.
I'm sorry, who are the ones actually in power and actually making a difference? Oh, that's right, the women. And I didn't need any husband telling me how to do my job and drive England into the ground. I trusted my own instincts and my own heart for the people, and look where it brought England. I didn't need some theoretical philosophies about power. I just did it and did it the right way.
And even when you do have a husband, it doesn't always work out. I was married, and all 3 of my husbands, the only thing they ever did was try to bring me down. Henry was a drunk, and he got so jealous that I had to get rid of him. And James, he forced me into a marriage that took away all my power as a ruler.
You know, I think you both have a point about equality. Women are in fact equal to others, equally powerless to their sovereign who has full control of their lives, as I talk about in my book, Leviathan. Remember, it's only $8.99. And so, you're right, there is equality, but they're equally powerless.
We'll just have to agree to disagree on this one. Anyway, Elizabeth, you're saying you didn't find a husband because you were married to England. I think you didn't have a husband because you couldn't find one. Have you ever heard of Bumble? Ladies' message first.
Okay, first of all, Elizabeth didn't even need a man to be heard. She had England under her thumb the whole time. And didn't you write a book to someone who didn't even read it?
Yeah, this coming from a woman whose best skills were blowing up her husband and dying before she had any real power.
You know what? Maybe he deserved it. And that's a lot of courage coming from a glorified school teacher.
Glorified school teacher? Well, I'll teach you a lesson.
Alright, that's all we have today, folks. Thank you for coming.
Henry was a drunk, and he was so jealous of my power that I had to get rid of him. And James, oh, what did James do?
Sorry. Has been telling us what to do or how to do our jobs. We just did it the right way. Okay, has been to tell me how to do my job, or they would run England into the ground. Shoot.
Okay, so we're gonna do
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,